Hi there, this is Conversations for Men That Women Need to Hear. I'm Angeline Chu Longshore with Zealous Daniel. Hey, Zealous.
How's it going?
Good.
So let's talk about femininity and what femininity really is. Femininity, and I looked it up, and it's this, the natural feminine. It's like what the instincts of femininity or the instincts of the feminine. And I feel like we're kind of in this culture where feminism is something that's to be supported, and even myself, I really felt like, you know, uh, I'm all for the feminists, and I have more female friends than male friends generally, and then as things have evolved over the last 10, 15 years, I feel like it's just gotten pushed further out of like what the feminine really is, and it's like looking up just the definition of feminine, it's the physical characteristics of sweetness or prettiness, and I think we kind of have a real feeling of like what feminine is just with our mothers. It's like your mother is this caring, nurturing woman who birthed you, and she breastfeeds you and feeds you, and when you hurt yourself, she's the one that holds you and rubs your boo boos and tells you it's going to be okay. And I feel like what this current age of feminism is not that. It's like what is femininity? We have this like feminist movement, but it's like it's almost like the feminists are wanting to be like this masculine thing. Like we want to be equals. It's like we don't want to be feminine. We want to be equals. Um, and so I just really wonder where the root of that is, what the real cause of it is. Is it true? Is that what the feminists want, is to be appreciated for being these beautiful mothers and women, like that I'm all supportive of? Um, or is it that they actually want to have the power and the control that men have had? I can see how it's evolved that way from men having more power and abusing it, and it's not all men. I think that it's a very small number of men that have fucked it up for the rest of us, and now the rest of us are paying the price. And those assholes that are the fucking toxic masculine men, they're they're not gonna waver or change. Fortunately, some of them are getting hung up for the shit they've done that is crossing lines. But for the most part, there's a lot of just pompous asshole men that aren't going to be changed by the feminist movement, and we're paying the price for it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here. And the thing is that why we started off with the definition of feminism is because what women think of feminism today is the root cause problem of their behavior. And their behavior is unconscious. Their behavior is based on this ideal of what they think it is to be a woman today, of that came from the feminist movement, but also came from the Cinderella Promise that I call the Cinderella Promise, which is, the wanting to be swept up by, your Prince Charming. And then we're also talking about the toxic man, with our Me Too thing, stuffed in there. And we have these different ideals of what a woman thinks she should be, what she's striving to be, and then what will make her happy. And women don't know that third piece because they're so stuck on these two other pieces. And then under that, you see these three things that women are doing as the alpha. Under that, men are trying to like support them. They're under that, like, okay, honey, I'll do this. And they're over here trying to do happiness too. But if the woman is doing these things that's not leading her to the real third happiness because she's stuck over here, he can never help her to become happy because she can't see that other piece. So that's where we are. And you're so right, Zealous, the understanding of what feminism is what the feminist movement brought to that is very confusing to the definition of what a feminine woman is. Then there's we've talked about the divine feminine, which is a spiritual angle of that. So it's very confusing for women. And then, of course, because men are trying to make women happy, they're confused at how do I support the feminine woman when there's all these pieces. And so that's where we are today.
You want me to be your knight in shining armor, but you also want to be a knight at your own knight. It's like you don't want to be saved. It's like you got to be the knight in shining armor, and then you've also got to be the queen.
You have to allow the man to be the hero. So
yeah, that's the thing.
To step back and be the queen, to support the king as an integral part of the team. It's not like she's under the king. The king can't do without the queen because he has to go off and, fight other battles to win other kingdoms or to bring home the bacon or whatever it is. So you're not an underling, you are an integral part, and it's a powerful position. But to think of yourself as a support to the king, for some reason, not some reason, but for a good reason, gets stuck in a woman's pride these days. She's like, I can't let him control me because men have controlled women for eons and it's not fair and we've got to take our turn. Well, when is that turn going to be over? And when are we going to come together? As one of your friends was talking about, we were just talking with his friend about coming together to actually communicate on a level playing field of communication. And we can't even communicate if we think that we're trying to fight for our rights. And it's this ever-going fight for, it's not even equality, because that's what we thought it was about. We have equality. We have these, basically, there are women making even more money than men sometimes these days. So it's not, we have the opportunities, we have the equality. So it's not that. Are we happy women? No. We have what we said we wanted, and now what? So it's not about equality. It's lost in translation now because we don't even know how to reach. Equality doesn't equate happiness, and in the end, the big picture, what do people want? They want some sense of knowing how they can, that they're capable of creating the life that they want. They're capable of managing and navigating their life in a way that brings joy, brings growth, brings inspiration, and there may be some other things that they want too, but those are the basics of what causes joy. And if we are always at odds with our man, then we're going to leave and we're not going to be in any relationship. So that is the landscape of relationships these days. Women are leaving in droves, despite what the man is trying to do. And it's sad. It's so sad. So we're here to help everyone. We're here to help men. We're here to help women. We're here to help families and children who are getting the brunt of all of these relationship issues. And I have to say, and I've said it before, it's not anyone's fault. It's where we've come to. We've come all this way through history and culture. So let's get back to the definition of feminism is what is ruining our relationships today. It's really the basis of how women identify with being a woman today. So we need to change that definition. And when we do, then that will help the man.
Something that you said that just really kind of hit close to home for me is this, the woman's I don't want to be controlled. I feel like that's something that my ex definitely had issues. You're trying to control me, but yet she's constantly doing things to control me and control our my power, and so I think there's this real question of what, and I really don't think I was trying to control her. I was trying to support things that she was wanting to do. So she would tell me she wanted to do, whether it was diet or some sort of lifestyle change. And then she would do it for a while and then fall off, and then I would try to be supportive of like making those, you know, dietary choices that she was making. And it's like, you stop trying to control me. And it's like, well, I'm not trying to control you, you know, I'm trying to be supportive of what you asked for, you know. And there's this whole like, you know, people don't want to be controlled, you know what I mean? It's like you try to put a saddle on a wild horse and it's going to throw it off. It's like, don't put those reins on me. But yet it's like, I'm actually trying to help you with what it is that you want, this what you want to do. Or it's like, I'm, you know, it makes me think about like, you know, just doing things that are nice for your partner. And it's like, are you just trying to manipulate me and control me or get me to do something? You know, it's like it starts to look at like even the things that I'm doing to be nice are some sort of like manipulative technique to control. um, and it's just like there's we just have to recognize like you're not trying to control. I'm not trying to control you. We're not trying to control each other. We're trying to like work together, and we're presenting ideas and possibilities. We're trying to be supportive, and it's not a matter of control. But I feel like there's this like resistance that like everything you're doing is trying to control me, and I can't let that happen.
Right. If we step back from the actual details of that little, I don't know, I don't want to say fight, but like
Tug of war.
tug of war, and we go back to the reason that women are acting or reacting this way, it's because of the mistrust of men. They are afraid of men. They have been told, conditioned to fear men. They've been told that a man is going to hurt you, he's going to try to take advantage of you sexually or otherwise, and you need to watch out for men. And they've been told this since they were little girls. And I think we've said this on another show, but I think it, you know, is worth repeating because it is another root of the issue here. So if a woman is afraid and she couples that with all these things she's told from the feminist movement that we have to fight for equal rights. So fighting and fear together, it's not going to be a nice, open, communicative relationship. You can't have openness if you're not actually on the same page, if you're not coming to the table as, okay, let's actually like put down our weapons. Women have their guard up. They've got their weapons. And it's not for a bad reason. They've been told that, but it's really to combat what you call those toxic men. And not almost hardly any men are those toxic men that are lumped in, you know, that are those Me Too types, which I've encountered some of those guys too. But that's not everyone. Almost all men I know are good people. They start off as like amazing, beautiful beings, just like a little girl, a little boy comes into the world the same way. So what suddenly made them horrific people just because they're male, you know, that we can't trust? That's the question that I like to ask women is like, why do you think, you know, are you afraid of men? Why? You know, what do you think happened to them? And at what stage of their life did they just turn and become these people that are going to hurt you? You know, and it's like digging into that for them where they're going to realize, oh, I have this belief.
And if you really kind of think about it too, that whole defensiveness and just having such a guard up is kind of going to make more of those, you know, toxic men. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if all these nice guys are just getting walked all over, it's like, and I ain't getting anywhere being nice, it's like, I'll just go ahead and be an arrogant, pompous asshole, totally. You know, and I'll try to get what I can. It's like, that's unfortunately part of the like outcome of the situation. Where do these people, did they start out like this? Well, I'm sure some of them did, but some of the guys are just like learned like, hey, I tried being nice and it wasn't working. So let's just go and play the numbers game and find my weak woman, you know, to prey on. And every time I get clubbed in the head by a strong woman, that just gives me more resistance, you know. So there's cause and effect to all of it. And
there is,
you know, something I think that is also kind of going on out there is like culturally, I think we're dealing with something that, you know, 50 years ago, I think there were more men that were leaving the families. You know, it was like the men were running off. And so I think women, unfortunately, were stuck in the situation where they were in such a heavy codependent relationship with their partners, which, let's face it, like marriages are codependent. Like that's why it works. Like not all of them, but like that is you create that codependency. You know that your partner is taking care of what they're good at, and you take care of what you're good at, and you work better and you do better as a family, as a team.
Based on
But,
trust, it works.
Yeah, yes. So, up until, 50 years ago or something, the situation of, I think that what's created this need for women to be strong and independent is that when they were left, when the husbands left and they had the kids and they didn't have means to take care of themselves, like us in the same way, it's like, well, we're not going to let that happen again. It's like, so I think there's a real struggle where it's like women they want their knight in shining armor, they want their Prince Charming, but they're also not trusting that he's going to stay there, And I think that that's ultimately where you have to, it's like people don't leave just because the grass is greener on the other side. It's because the grass is drying up on the side they're at. So it's like, it's both persons' responsibility to like water the ground and take care of it. I think that something that's kind of overlooked in that scenario of like, they just left for something better. It's like, well, maybe it's not that it was something better. Maybe it's that we weren't taking care of what we had.
And not getting your needs met. So that can take different forms. For a woman not getting her needs met, she may be setting up the man so that he can't actually feed her needs. And she may not realize what she needs to do to feed his needs. And if you understand what each other needs, then you can be fulfilled. But that's the issue, is that women don't really know what they need, and they don't know what men need. And men are trying to please women based on what they think they need, or the woman is telling them what they need, but she's not really understanding what she needs for true happiness, or at least to feel competent and capable of navigating life in a way that causes joy. So, because happiness, people say, oh, what's happy? That's a temporary thing. But being able to navigate your life and feel capable is empowering, and also ways that that you can cause joy in your life. So, it's based on those needs that have to be. I mean, that's why we're here unpacking it, because we're talking about really the basis of what is confused here. And, we just talked to your friend. There are so many men that are confused, and they're trying so hard, like you are, Zealous. They're trying so hard. And I give every man credit for that, because I see it day in and day out, the frustration. Like, they're trying to figure it out. They're problem solvers. They're innately problem solvers. So they're like, okay, if I do this and I strategize that way, not to manipulate women at all. You're not trying to do that. You're trying to problem solve to make her happy. And the woman sees it as like manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, if you're not happy about the way things are going, I'm going to present some different ideas because I want you to be happy, not because I want to be right or because I think it should be done differently. It's like, you're complaining about of what happened with the kids, and I'm just giving some ideas, and it's like, they don't want that. And, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was saying, like, nobody wants to be told what to do when they're complaining. It's like, we've had this conversation before where it's like the woman will complain about her day, and then the man will try to come up with a problem with solutions, and they don't want to hear it. They just want to be heard. And it goes across the board for men and women. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I think a lot of the times it's because we kind of know in our head what it is we need to do. And then to have somebody else tell us, it's like, it's like, God, I keep getting sick, it's like, well, have you tried echinacea? Maybe you need more exercise. And it's just like, just shut up. I don't want to hear that. It's like, we know that, but it's like, we just want some company because we're feeling miserable.
Well, here's the other issue, is that when a woman is needing that from a man, that's not the appropriate place to get her needs met for that. A tribe of women are supposed to be the ones to hear her out. So women are relying on their significant other for everything that the tribe used to offer her and provide for her. That lean back into the women's support is not there anymore. We can't lean into women anymore because they're so alpha, and there's a lot of different cultural things that have happened where there's mistrust amongst women to fully, truly lean in. So they're like, women are like, well, I should be able to trust my partner because he's my one and only. He's my everything. And so we put all of our eggs into that basket. And of course they're going to break because he can't manage what a whole tribe of women have for generations and generations.
Yeah, and it's also one of these things too. I think we have become so compartmentalized that it's a matter of like when a woman's blowing off steam, or vice versa, when you're blowing off steam to your significant other, now that we're in this box, it's not that you're just in a pot of boiling water, it's a pressure cooker. There's nowhere for that steam to go. You're blowing off the steam, but it's not leaving the house. It's just making the whole pressure ride and everything's cooking faster. Mm-hmm. It's the Instapot of we've turned our little homes into little Instapots, and it's.
I love that because it's all the ingredients stay within that relationship, and that man is trying to figure out, okay, what have we got cooking here now? What can I add? What spices can I add to make it flavorful? But that job, is not really his job. He's supposed to be out like hunting the animal. I mean, going back to caveman days.
It's not a matter of whether or not it's his job. It's what men spend their time thinking about and what women spend their time thinking about. And so, if the man's not thinking about what he can do to make the relationship more enjoyable, which I think is just typically like they're more associated with work and making money and projects and I think that's something that just is part of the feminine is what do we want to do to make our life more enjoyable on this simple level? That's where women are great at coming up with great ideas for interaction with kids, that aren't just sports and roughhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your friend was like very informative and just like being the regular guy talking about stuff, because I was thinking how he said, there's that innate, we were talking about the innate feminine, and women are not in their innate feminine. And I know that's like kind of like really wishy-washy, but in real terms, I'm like kind of losing my train of thought, but in real terms, the dynamic of what's happening in the home is well, I think just so it's so compartmentalized in this woman who's so independent. And so everything is put into these little, like we talked about, compartmentalizations of how can I win? And the woman is trying to win these days because that's the male posturing. She's not trying to support, get underneath the whole system and like make sure all the wheels are turning in each section of the family, as much as there's that fear that she's not winning, that fear that she's getting taken advantage of, that's underlying all those efforts. So she goes back to questioning that, am I getting taken advantage of? And so if that layer was taken away, just imagine if she didn't have to worry about the fear of men and being taken, then she would just relax and say, I can do these things and support him because I feel completely supported myself. I feel completely like I have enough. I have enough support from my women. I have my man going out to do what he's doing. He comes in, the modern man comes in to support when he comes back. He brings back things that are support to me. So it's not that men are feminized that is the problem either. It's that there's that layer that women are kind of always really disturbed about. That's the angry woman syndrome. They're disturbed that, is he going to be doing that? Like, I better worry that he's going to take away this or that from me. So this fear is like it's like a layer that could just relieve, if it's taken away, could relieve so much of the pressure, and we can come into our authentic, innate selves as men and women. That we're just, innate means like inborn. We're born with this DNA. There's things that are natural to us. And so when I say authentic women, it's like authentic feminine. It's like how we are kind of meant to be. That sounds old fashioned, but what we're born with. I mean, we're born to multitask. We're born to do things that men can't do. And with these skills, we can do things better and they can do other things better. So if we're trying to fight those innate things because we are of the animal kingdom and we have things that are animalistic in us for our survival of our species, if we're fighting that, then we're fighting nature. And we know nature is always going to win or be really rough if we're trying to fight it, as we can see with climate and all the things that are going on today.
Yeah, I think that something that you were talking about there is like being taken advantage of. And I think that we lose context because of all the things that come with that. You know, it's like you don't want to be taken advantage of sexually, being like, well, I don't want them to go in, I don't want to go and have sex with somebody if they're not going to really value me and honor me and give me the support and grow in a relationship. I don't want to go and have sex with you if you're just going to leave, you know? And so there's that like taken advantage of, where I think of like the flip side of it is like, I want to be taken advantage of. I have these strengths and skills, and I want you to take advantage of the opportunities that being with me provides you. Like, that's how we're going to do better. But it's like, and I'm not going to go in, it's like, you take advantage of me. And I know that you'll be able to have qualities and strengths that I will help us as well. And it's like, you know, if somebody offers to buy you something, it's like, well, I don't want to take advantage of their kindness. They're offering, you know, it's like, take advantage of that. You know, they're offering to do this thing for you. And so you have to just understand, you know, and I think there's a resistance of like, maybe there's ulterior motives. There's all these other contexts that could show that you have to have a sense and a radar about it. But like, when you're in a relationship, you shouldn't be having like fear or a sense of radar up against your partner, you know, for somebody you don't really know that may have ulterior motives. But like, that's being in a family and having that partnership is like, yes, take advantage of me. Mm-hmm. Like, and, you know, and likewise, if I utilize some of the things that you're better at, your skills or different aspects of things we can get in this relationship, like, I don't want to be judged or made feel guilty because I, you know, I leaned on you to do something you're good at.
Mm-hmm. I liken it to, like, in my mind, to two different companies. And if these two companies are competitive, then there's a fear that someone is going to win the business, that and so they try to outdo each other, and they're always judging to see, are they outdoing me? Okay, I better one up them. But if they actually joined as a team, then they could take advantage of each other's differences and skills to actually propel the industry further on than if they're just looking at each other as the opponent. And that's the thing that we're doing in our relationships is, you know, is he going to one up me? Is he going to do this? But if we drop that and we join together, if like it's two companies joining, we're both amazing people, both amazing companies with these skills that are various skills. And if we are able to take advantage of each other's skills together as one, I mean, then the sky's the limit as far as what we can build together with those skills. Otherwise, we're tearing each other down. You know, as good as each of us is, if we're not together on the same team, we're just going to keep trying to one-up each other and maybe even tear each other down, and then we don't move forward. So we're talking about the modern way of moving forward now. I mean, we don't want to go back to olden times. We're not talking about, you know, women barefoot in the kitchen and men like clubbing women over the head, you know, but we're talking about men now being aware of equality and championing women and all of that in this day and age, and also being supported by women so that men can thrive. They can feel masculine. And I think of it as that men need that swagger. They need to go out into the world and go, I just closed that deal, rather than I just diapered and like washed all the laundry and made the lasagna and the house is super clean, honey. Go check the oven. I like did the easy off. How can they brag to their male friends about that? But they can say, I just made bucks today. You know, I just did this amazing presentation, and talk with their men friends, which is so important, and have that swagger. So we need our men to feel proud and good again. Let's make men great again. It's
Yes.
like let men be great again by supporting their manliness, and they turn around because of reciprocity and love and care for the team, the family team, to go, I feel so good. I just did this, and you were supportive. You were taking care of the kingdom, the household, so I can come back and like pour love into it. And that's the dynamic that I see happening in our forward modern age of family. It's like the modern dad, the modern women, we're fully aware of each other's strengths and equalities, giving each other that respect and admiring each other in our various, like maleness and femaleness and vice versa in both sexes, and also supporting fully and allowing ourselves to just sit back into our authentic innate feminine, our authentic innate masculine. And then like we will roar as women if we do that. Right now we're struggling to walk in men's shoes to try to prove to men we're equal. It's like, no, I'm still equal. I'm still equal. That's what's happening in the public sense. In the private sense in the home, it's that competitive fight. It's that antagonistic tug of war.
I feel like, there's this thing, instead of like appreciating my partner, appreciating me when I have that sweater on and I've had some successful accomplishment for the day. It's like, I want that swagger, like, I feel like the women are like, oh yeah, I can do that too. Instead of being like, look at my man, he's kicking ass. Like, this is what we need to keep doing to get to the goal. And I just need to keep supporting the family and doing my part to let them shine. And then, it comes back and forth. It's like, well, what is it that that the woman wants to have that's going to make her happy and shine, and it's like they want to have that on their own instead of have it given to them. But yet they also are like, well, where's my new jewelry? Where's my new, it's like you said, they want two different things at the same time. They want that Prince Charming, and they also want to be that strong, independent person too. That doesn't need someone.
Right.
It's like,
we have a viewer who's saying, his name is, or I think it's a man, Abba, who says being equal means that men don't need to champion women. Well, that is the thing, is that women, they think that they want equality, but and men are championing women, even though they have the equality, but they don't need to if we're each in our roles where we feel fulfilled. Then we can champion each other. I think there's too much thought on championing women, of empowering women, empower women. It's like, what about the man? I have boys, and there was a tennis coach who said, okay, girls, let's beat these boys. And my son was like, what is this feminist thing going on? He is like 12 years old, and he's like, I hate feminists. And it was because it's like, well, what about the guys? Like, why are you not cheering for us? Everyone needs to support each other. We need to support each other. It's not all about supporting women, but it has been for too long. And I think that's what that feeling that Abba is saying, that he's saying another thing is women want equality. Here it is. Women want equality, and men want them to demonstrate that they are. That's so true. And men are continuing to do that over and over and over. Like, you are the goddess. You do that all the time. You have friends, and you like go, yeah, you go girl, or you're a goddess, or I see your goddessness. And it's not enough. It's like, okay, women, come on. Where does it end? What do we need? But it's not, they don't know. They don't know.
It makes me think of just like how racism is going to continue to be a problem the more we talk about it. Like we have to just let go of the racism and the prejudice, and it's like the minorities are not prejudiced, but they're resentful towards the majority. And that's just going to perpetuate the racism until we've all just cooked down into the same soup. But it's like, the way we have to get through it is to stop talking about prejudice and just act like we're equals. Stop talking
Just
about it.
live
And
it.
yes, we're all equals, you know? And when something happens to a minority, you can't just blame that they were the minority. You have to go and say, that sucks for that person, whether
Right.
it's a man or a woman or any race, you know? And it's unfortunately we have to kind of evolve through the culture that we live in, but the way that we do it is by just moving on,
Moving
you know,
forward.
like, yeah.
There is too much focus on feminism. And we needed that at first, but okay, we've been down that road now for a long time. And you know, with any situation there's a phase and you get stagnant and you start operating on old information if you stay there. So we're operating our daily lives as in relationships on this old information that doesn't really apply now. We've been in this mode for women have been working in the workplace for a long time now. We know that you are strong. We know that you can do everything that a man can do to a certain extent. That's a given now, okay? So let's move forward and go, okay, let's just live that now and see where we go from here to improve relationships. Now we need to step into our matriarch power and support as the team. You know, we don't need to fight anymore. And then if we drop the fight, men will go, oh, thank you. Now I can really support you. As our viewer Abba was saying, it's like they want to support you, zealous. You are always trying to support the women around you, even me. You even support me all the time, just in being helpful and caring. And so men are actually that way now. And thank you, men. You know, from a woman, I have to say, thank you guys for putting yourselves aside for the longest time, biting your tongue so that you can allow your women to just like have their space and feel empowered. That's enough. You know, it's enough now. Now we need to, like the pendulum has swung, right? Now we need to come back and go look at each other like, okay, now let's face each other. How can we support each other now? We've had our time, pendulum over there. Now let's look at men. What do they need? And men look at what the new woman who's asking them what they need you can do for that woman. And if we look at each other to say to each other, what do we need now? As very strong, admirable, respectful relationship people, you know, how do we operate now? And that, I believe, is to fall into our innate beings as men and women, how we are born into that with our DNA. I'm not saying be a caveman, you know, and clobber a woman. Take some of those principles that we know are very masculine that we're born with, that we have these instincts to do and be, and keep the things that we've learned. Keep that knowing and respect of a woman and her equality, not equality, but that she can do as much and maybe even better than a man can do in certain respects. And the woman needs to turn and go, you're better at that than I am, so that's going to be your deal, you know?
Yeah. I got to go here pretty soon, but I had this really awesome thought that I think could be a good way for couples and people to get a good conversation going in the right direction. And it's to open it up with saying, hey, what are some of your goals? Like, you need to have independent individual goals and then goals maybe as a family, and to go and say, hey, what we know that like real happiness comes from working towards goals, and it isn't even achieving them so much as it is working towards them and that anticipation. And to go and say, hey, what goals do you have? What's a goal that I can help support you in doing, you know? And it can come from either one. And I think that can be a great way to just open up the conversation and stop talking about the my feelings and your feelings and I don't want to be taken advantage, all of that stuff. It's just like, hey, like, what can we do to support each other's goals? Like, what are some of your goals? What's a goal that you have? What's a goal that I have? What's a goal for our family to work towards? And then to go and say, hey, what I can do this to help support you achieve this goal, and, you know, and vice versa. I think what do you think about that?
I think that is the way to move forward in a modern way. And I just want to address our viewer who's saying that I don't think men need to support women, but allow them to fly or fall on their own. I think we don't have time to get into that fully. We can talk about that in another show. I just want to let you know we will address that. But I think, as you said, like, moving forward, and it's listening to each other's needs and coming together on not a compromise. It's not about compromising. It's about figuring it out together, putting on the table all the things that each of us want and looking at them, all of our goals, and not saying, okay, you've got your goals and I've got my goals, but these are our goals. Coming together to make it our goals. So whatever your goal is, it's not your goal anymore. It's actually ours, so that we can do this as a team together. Because even if I'm not actively doing the thing that it is that you want to do, I'm supporting you by maybe giving you space, maybe making you food to take on the road, maybe doing whatever, making the calls for you, whatever it is. Either active or inactive support. And if we can do that together, that's one practical way to move forward.
Mm-hmm. For the comment there, I think that is very important. And the thing that's important is that failure is just the first attempt at trying. And I think that it's really important for people to try things and have it not work out so they can learn from it on their own. And that is just very important for us to have that experience. And it's not that like we need to see them try and fail. It's no, that's part of the learning process. And I think it's really important for people to experience failure and then learning it and figuring it out so they get that feeling of success and accomplishment when they do get it. And I think that is very important, that we oftentimes, especially in relationships, you don't want your partner to fail. You don't want your kids to fail. You try to make it easy for them, but I think it's also a really important part that we shouldn't overlook, that is part of the evolution.
That evolution part, I think, is important. And the piece about understanding the evolution can help inform them of the lesson that they learned. Because sometimes we move ahead, but we don't see what we've learned. And so the falling or flying, you could fall, but you can continue to fail if you don't see the big picture. And so what we're talking about here is the big picture, and it's not about the actual thing that they're trying to do, but this cultural phenomenon that is causing a lot of these issues. So I know you got to go. It's another great conversation. I hope this clarified some about, how, men can help their women to be authentically feminine. And we will be talking more next week. This is Conversations for Men That Women Need to Hear. We'll see you next Thursday. All right.
So, thanks.